Guys, we're going to take a look here at the third and final game using our Morbid Undying Green Black Pauper deck. This is the opening hand right here, and this is something I do not recommend keeping. This hand is all lands. The only non-land card is a kill spell. You also have 3 Evolving Wilds, which means that 3 of your opportunities for lands are really going to be a bit delayed because of the fact that they come into play tapped. I do, however, after saying that, keep this hand. I know it's a wild choice, but here's my thoughts. I'm playing first, that means my opponent is on the draw. So if I drop down to 6, that means I'm going to be a card behind from the start. At the same time, having this much land in hand means that it decreases the likelihood that I draw a land from my deck. Also, with the Evolving Wilds, it's going to help me continue to thin out lands, and I should be pretty good as far as avoiding lands. This is a very risky play. If you're doing anything competitive or serious, I don't recommend keeping a hand like this at all. Because this is a casual game, I usually feel a little more comfortable keeping it. So, starting off, I'm going to grab a Forest, simply because I have 2 swamps in hand. You see I get lucky off the first draw, and it is not a land, which is fantastic. Since I have no other plays, I did put down a second Evolving Wild, so I can get rid of those and get my lands thinned out even more. This time searching out a swamp. Between the 3 Evolving Wilds and the other lands I had in hand, I'm going to be able to basically get 3 of each. So now we draw into a Fume Spitter, which is great. We are going to have the opportunity to put that into play, as well as the 3rd Evolving Wilds. So, my opponent passes through his turn here, puts down the Boilerworks, building up his mana base. I am going to sacrifice that, get my 2nd Forest into play. Passing this along, I have an opportunity now. I could, if I wanted, sacrifice the Fume Spitter in order to get this 4/4 bear into play on turn 3. I'm sorry, on turn 4. But I really don't think this is necessary. I really want to keep this. My opponent is playing red-blue. A lot of times it comes with stuff like Delver, Kiln Fiend. Even though he is running black for a bit of control, these are options that you can definitely see in these colors, and I really wanted to hold on to the Fume Spitter to have this control option available to me. If I continued to draw, you see I drew an Edict here, if I continued to draw additional kill spells, then I probably would have been okay with sacrificing the Fume Spitter to get this bear out. Also, it gives me an opportunity, by not doing that, to keep it gives, let me back up a second. By not sacrificing the Splitter, it also opens up the opportunity to sacrifice it if I had drawn a Boar, which would have been a stronger play at that point in time. So, get the Wolf down that I draw on this turn. I'm still going to keep this Fume Spitter into play and do some damage with it. Still no need to put this bear out. My opponent's got no blocker, so I really have nothing to worry about. He is now putting down the Steam Core Weird, and decided to actually target the Fume Spitter as opposed to the Young Wolf. I'm not sure how I feel about this play. I understand why he did it. He didn't want the wolf getting any bigger, but what I am going to do is, in response, I'm going to use the Fume Spitter to kill the, to put a counter on the Steam Core Weird. Now, I have opportunities available to me as far as getting this Morbid creature out. I also have a draw now on this turn. I don't know why I'm stumbling over words here, but Edict's going to come down. I decided I'm going to my opponent's creature and use that as the Morbid ability to put down this bear. And it also leaves me an open Tragic Slip. This could be used for Delvers again if I run into those. Not a lot of stuff that the Tragic Slip is going to be able to kill at that 1/1 ability, but we're going to just go with it anyways. So opponent still doesn't get an additional creature out. Drawn to Hunger the Howlpack, which is great. I have a lot of options. If my opponent does somehow kill off a creature, I can get that going. So he does actually, he's going to attempt to kill off the bear, which means he's going to require a little bit more than the Lightning Bolt, since it's going to do 1 less. So he does 3 damage to it, and then when he does the second part, which is actually going to be a Stagger Shock, we'll see here in a moment. In response to that, I am going to use Tragic Slip to kill off my wolf. This is going to bring my wolf back as a 2/2, which is okay, but keep in mind you know that the wolf is going to die to the Stagger Shock on the next turn. What it's really doing is enabling me to cast Hunger the Howlpack, which is going to beef up this bear to a 7/7. Now, you could very well have kept the wolf into play, and then used that to keep this bear alive. The Howpack would have brought it up to a 6/6, and he's only doing 5 damage, so it's not necessary. But I really wanted, now that I have an opportunity to do so, I really wanted to get this bear as big as possible. Since my opponent doesn't have any blockers, it's going to give me a lot of open turns that I can swing through. It also creates a creature that is so big that my opponent is going to have to sacrifice creatures to it every turn until he finds an answer. So I'm okay making that sacrifice of basically the wolf plus the tragic slip to do this. So next I'm going to put down the Ranger. You see here what I tapped out. I had 4 mana available, 2 of each color. Now, my odds of drawing something at a single green versus a single black gives me Fume Spitters and Tragic Slips. Those are not great options right now. I could play the Fume Spitter, not the Tragic Slip. Now, keep in mind, I also have Fume Spitter in the graveyard. That really decreases my odds of drawing into a single black casting cost card. So what I decided to do is leave green available. I have options if I draw a Hunger, as well as another Young Wolf. So that gives me twice as many options to draw into something. I also have an increased count in the deck. So I know when you're doing this, the abbreviated version is when you have to tap out 4 to play a Rager, odds are, especially in a situation like this, what you want to leave open is a forest. Had I top decked into a Hunger of the Howpack, I would have been able to instantly use that to increase the power of one of these, the Rager or the Wolf, since we did have a creature die earlier this turn. I did actually draw into a Young Wolf, so you see the odds worked out for me, and I am going to be able to put that into play right away. So now I'm a little more okay with the fact that he's going to end up killing off this wolf, because I do have a second one available to me. Throws down Halmar Depths, allows him the opportunity to search through his library and reorganize a little bit. Puts down Is It Chronarch, and I know he's going to end up using that to fetch out a burn spell. Oddly enough, he chooses to use that for Stagger Shock. I'm not sure, I guess because of the fact that it gives him an opportunity to make 2 kills. I still feel like Lightning Bolt might have been a better play. Maybe the Brainstorm to try and get him out of this mess. But I don't know his deck that well, so draw into a Rager. I am going to start off by attacking, just to see what my opponent does. This allows me to better judge what I'm going to do with the card I draw on the next turn. I'm sorry, in the next main phase. So he decides to block the Rager, as I kind of expected, putting out the second one right here. It is going to allow me to draw into another card. Unfortunately, it is a forest. Opponent's turn, he is down to 2 life, and this leaves me a lot of opportunities. He throws out the Petrohydrox, I think that's how you say it. Oddly enough, I don't know what his hand was or what his plays were available to him, but he didn't have, at this point in time, enough mana open for the Stagger Shock, so I assumed that he had some kind of other answer. If he used this to block my bear, he's going to take 3 damage and still lose the game, so he had to have some other answer. I had assumed a Doomblade at this point in time to answer my attack. So when I swing through, he does, as you'll see here in a second, decide to block with his weird against the bear, which is as I expected, and he does tap out, and he actually had an Agony Warp, which means that he's going to take 0 damage off this, reducing my wolf there, giving it the -3/-0. So that's going to happen, but I am going to be able to again throw down a Rager with plenty of mana left over to play whatever I draw, and what I draw into is another wolf. So my opponent decides to concede at this point in time. He really didn't have an answer. You needed to wipe the board at this point in time because you have the bear, and then even if you find a chump blocker for this giant 7/7 bear, you still got 4 damage coming your way.